Attempt to say as little as possible. If you all know me well, you know that's very difficult. But I'm just going to try to introduce the folks that are speaking. First, I've asked Reverend Wendy Hamilton, my good friend,
okay, come on, sir.
Harvest Baptist Church minister for 35 years in the middle of Paramore, to come pray for all of us, because Lord knows we need all the prayer we can get, and so does Paramore. So Wendy, you be so kind, and let the group would stand, please. I'd appreciate it.
Let's bow for a word of prayer. Father, thank you so much for the Lord Jesus Christ who came and died for our sins that we might have a right to eternal life. And thank you that every good and perfect gift comes from you. And we don't own anything, we don't own the stools. And thank you for all these businessmen and ladies. Have your will and way. Thank you for Phil and his endeavor. Have your will and way. Thank you for the Lord Jesus who loved us so much. He gave his life for our sins. Let your will be done tonight, and we'll be careful to give you praise. And I believe everybody said,
Amen. And by the way, if any of y'all are looking for something to do to save the world, go down and see Wendy Hamilton's school on the corner of Anderson and Paramore. I mean, if you want to be part warm, go there and see the children and see what he's doing. It's just fantastic. Okay, next up is Commissioner Regina Hill, and I see she's not here, so if she's not here, the heck with her, we'll go on to the next one after that. The next one is my son Brad. Where is he? I'm back here. Okay. Now, what y'all need to know about Brad is, how old are you now, son? 36? 38? Something like that. Okay, when he was 10 years old, I took him, several of you probably heard this story, to a City of Orlando meeting where they were planning Paramore. They were going to solve all of Paramore's problems, right, Brad?
We've only seen 3 plans section.
Okay, so he loved this stuff so much, this is the truth, that when he grew up, he went to college and became a planner. And then he went to work for the firm that's drawing all these pictures, okay? The folks will be talking to you in a little while. So I guess I can claim he's a little bit of an expert. He also is one of the 2 principals or 3 principals that own this property. So he's going to speak to you a little bit tonight about what this plan is for and what property owners should ask the planners. And probably he's also going to talk to you about why Dad is wrong.
Could be wrong.
Could be wrong.
What Dad didn't tell you is I worked for these guys, these 2 gentlemen, with these 2 gentlemen over here for a year, and it was so much fun that I sold my house and my cars and moved to Guatemala and became a peace corps. Peace Corps volunteer. So I don't know about calling me an expert for working for them for a year. So I just had a chance to speak with these guys, and I want to back up a little bit and say, my interest is like yours. I own businesses and a piece of property here, and I'm just curious about why we're doing this and what comes out of it. So for me, why we're doing this, the city's doing this plan to see how Paramore develops. Am I right so far?
Got it.
Yep, okay. Generally cities do plans like this, and then it helps them figure out how an area will develop. So from this plan, when property owners go in and ask for rezonings, you'll have the opportunity to do future land use amendments and rezonings that move toward there, right? So nobody's coming through and doing a wholesale plan amendment change or anything like that, correct? Correct. So it's not something that we have to get too scared about. Dad and Chuck and some of the others that we've spoken to have been primarily concerned about this corridor and what it becomes. Hey, Jim.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
So for us, Dad has been concerned that we want to see the sports and entertainment district followed through on this Old West Church Street corridor. And I think some of y'all might have that same concern. The way that the map is drawn today, they've got 2 colors on there, brown and the brown is mixed use, and that kind of correlates to what future land use?
The mixed-use corridor medium.
Okay, mixed-use corridor medium, and that is a future land use designation. And you guys don't have any future land use designation attached to that blue color yet.
Correct. Those are more character districts to describe, how it operates rather than it being, a parcel-based future land use map.
Yeah, I believe that Dad and some of y'all may have been concerned that you wanted to see this portion all blue because you wanted to see it and entertain the district all the way throughout there. I believe what these gentlemen have done is actually given you what you asked for and made it so that the map color, the brown here, is correlates to future land use that will allow you to keep doing that district all the way through there. So in essence, I believe you have gotten what you were asking for. They're just showing it in two different colors. This one has future land use, and this one already has what you're asking for.
Tell us what future land use is and why it's important.
Do we have a planning consultant here, Jim? Can you speak to that a little bit, or one of these guys?
Yeah, sure. Good afternoon, thanks for coming out. Curtis Radke with DHP. Unfortunately, Brett and I didn't have the pleasure of working together, but I worked with his brother, Clay, for a couple of years, and that was always interesting. So, in terms of what a future land use category is, every municipality and local government within the state of Florida is required to adopt a comprehensive plan to help them guide and direct and manage growth. The future land use plan shows the kind of the spatial or geographic distribution of where those land uses will occur within the city. And each land use designation, for example, commercial or industrial or residential, has specific development criteria attached to it. So it may say you can have up to 4 units per acre and say a residential low future land use category, or you can have up to 200 in a downtown activity center. Here in Paramore, we've got a little bit of both of those. And then also, future land use categories have what's called a floor area ratio attached to it. What that means is the amount of building you can put on a single acre. So if you have a 1.0 floor area ratio, which is very high, that means you can cover your entire site, 100% of your site with building. Now, typically what you see in kind of conventional suburban development doesn't even come close to 1.0. It's typically a gas station, a Walmart is going to be less than, 0.2. So about 20% of the site is covered. And in our experience of, Jim Selling doing this for 30 years, 35 years maybe, maybe even 40, you usually get about, you're going to get a yield of about 10,000 square feet per acre. 10,000 square feet per acre of land that you own. Now, obviously having a higher number would allow you to build higher, so you can build 2 stories, 3 stories, or more. Within Paramore, where you all are looking, we have drawn this brown area as mixed use. So what does that mean? Right now, it's predominantly industrial, and we think that the mixed use land use or character district that we haven't gone forward and amended the city's plan yet to actually put those rules and statutes in place. But the mixed use district will give you a lot more flexibility beyond just industrial uses. So you could have office use, residential use, commercial use, or other types of public uses. In terms of what the numbers behind this would be, we're using a 0.5 floor area ratio, which is the same as what's permitted today on the city's future land use map. So we haven't gained anything in terms of the number or amount of building you can add, but what we've added is the flexibility of the types of uses you can put in there.
So, Kurt, if we had an acre of ground there, what could we do with it?
You could do residential, office,
Okay.
a mix of both.
How many units of residential could we put on an acre of ground?
On an acre of ground, you could do 30, up to 30.
30. How tall could it be?
There isn't a height restriction.
In the future land use.
Right, not in future land
There
use.
would be a zoning attached to it.
Yeah. So, Paul, do you know what the zoning is there today?
I know. It's probably, if it's industrial, it's probably either IG or IP.
It's probably IGT, but
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's pretty important to, I mean, this will sound like a cop-out, but we haven't looked at the zoning map for this area. We're kind of doing what we call the 30,000 foot level, where we're, kind of flying over high to understand what is the general character of the community, how does it function, Where's the, important residential districts? Where are the important historic districts? Where are the parks? That sort of thing. The next step that Brad described was, once this kind of overall vision has been established, then you take the plane down, you can see individual property lines, you can start to make out some more detail, and that's when you get into future land use. So that's not being done at this time. That's up to you all as individual property owners to put forth an application to the city of Orlando if you want to change your property. And then once you do that, if you want to develop something different than what you had, you take the plane down even closer to the ground and do your zoning and ask for a rezoning amendment. And that would have to be consistent with whatever future land use designation that you received.
So what are the exact steps? This is the first step, right?
Right.
Okay, what comes after this step?
Okay, so we're having our final community meeting with Paramore residents next Wednesday, the 11th, at the Callahan Center at 6 p.m. in the big room there. A number of you guys have been out to that already, so we appreciate you coming out and providing comments, because we can't just do this in our office. We need to hear from the people that own property about what they'd like to see. So again, thanks for inviting us to be here tonight. Once we get through that process, we're going to take this plan along with the written document that describes what are the recommendations, the policies, the capital improvements that are needed to make this a reality. That'll go before the city's downtown development board, the municipal planning board for a workshop and hearing, and then the city council for a workshop and hearing. These are all publicly advertised meetings. They're going to start, I think, in September and go through November or December, kind of depending on the schedule. Once that's been done, an individual can apply for a future land use change. You can do your future land use and your zoning at the same time if you choose, but then the zoning has to be consistent with the future land use, so that kind of secondary level. But this plan is not a legally binding document. In order for it to be more legally binding, it needs to be in the terms of the comprehensive plan future land use map.
Okay, so we go from this to a future land use.
Correct.
Change, okay. Now, it wouldn't make sense for us one at a time to do that, would it?
You can.
But would be more likely successful if we did it in groups or several property owners together.
You could. I think I don't want to put words into any of the city planners' mouths, but I think they would appreciate a kind of a master plan more than a piecemeal planning effort, because then they can see kind of the big picture of how things connect together.
Now, this has to be approved at the state level, does it not?
The power of the state has changed over the years, but yes, once comprehensive plan amendments go through a two-stage process. So if I'm Phil, I'm going to fill out my application to the city and say I want commercial land use, or I want mixed-use land use. That gets reviewed by locally here by the city, by the municipal planning board, and then to city council. And they do what's called a transmittal hearing. So that's essentially sending a draft of what we're asking for up to the state for review. The state will review for 30 days. It used to be 90, and it used to be a lot more onerous process, but the city has, because the city has done some really strong planning in the past, they usually haven't had problems at the state level. But then it would come back down, and there would be a second hearing called the adoption hearing. So after the adoption hearing, after 45 days is the effective date, and then you would have your future land use. Now you can process your zoning at the same time, but the risk is that if you don't get your future land use, then the zoning application dies as well.
I think that's fine. My name's Paul Lewis. I'm with the city planning department, and I just everything that Kurt said is correct. As with everything associated with the planning profession, there's a few other little layers that are in permutations of the process. I think one of the things that will happen with this particular plan is that we'll need to, there's kind of an interim step in between individuals coming in for changes to the land use, and that would be, we'll have to incorporate this concept plan into our growth management plan, okay? And that may be just as an adoption of literally the map and some policies that describe what we're trying to do in the Paramore area. And then we still haven't talked through exactly how we'll implement the plan. We may do it through straight future land use map amendments and changes to zoning. We may do it through an overlay district, what planners call an overlay district. I know it's really sounds like, what the heck are you talking about? But it's a way for us to lay out the most appropriate way to implement this vision. So, to tell you the truth, we haven't figured out exactly yet how that procedure will work. But that's one of the things that will be coming out of this plan when we go to the municipal planning board and city council. We'll have that answer. We'll be able to say this is how the process is going to work for individual properties. Okay.
I have a question I'd like to ask along the order of what this gentleman is talking about. Most municipalities have a protocol on how often they go to the state for the comprehensive review plan. What's City of Orlando's protocol?
Well, it's all based on state law. So
Well, you can go once a month if you want.
you can. Our protocol is that if it's what we call a small scale amendment,
Right.
less than 10 acres, we can go on a monthly basis, and we do that.
Like Seminole County.
Yeah, and what we've also said is but our normal policy though, if it's a larger piece of property, if it's over 10 acres in size,
Right.
the old rule used to be you could only do it twice per year.
Right.
Okay. We still have 2 cycles per year that we do. We have added a policy that says you can do it out of cycle, anytime during the year, but you have to pay the extra advertising cost for the quarter-page ads that we have to do for an event. So the reason we have to do that is we don't have in our budget the ability to do multiple ads. While the state took away or gave us flexibility, they did take the flexibility about the pretty costly advertising that we have to do. It's about $1,500 per quarter-page ad.
Let me follow up.
Jerry, can we follow up with that later? We need to get through this and if y'all want to ask questions.
It has to do with
you can
it.
ask questions.
It has to do with this question, because they've done a good job in explaining it. But I think that if property owners understood that this is a multi-level process, and that they need to make sure during that process that their zoning is not just changed for the sake of changing it without their being aware of it, that it impacts the value of their property.
Amen. Amen.
Okay, well, that's a question that I wanted to get to Kurt, because I've had one of our members or one of our associates say, I don't think I want to do this because if I do it, they're going to increase my taxes. Okay, what's your answer to that question?
Well, it will not increase taxes to do nothing. The city is not going to change anybody's future land use or their zoning at this time.
So all this really does is give you the opportunity to change later.
Yes, the opportunity.
Makes it easier to change later.
Right. Now, the market may increase property taxes, but that's not something that you or I or anyone else can control.
Okay, I have a couple more questions. You said that with this round, you would assume that our density for residential would be 30 units to an acre.
Yes.
Okay, what's the owning development up there in the street per acre?
You're talking about the city view?
Yes.
It's probably about 60.
Yeah.
So why should we be 30 and they should be 60?
They're within the downtown activity center. Is that correct? No.
I don't remember what the land is, but it's
It doesn't make any sense to me that they would be 60 and we would be 30. I don't know about the rest of this group, but I think that's a good
If they're 60, we want to be 60.
Right. They can do it down there. I think this group wants to do it down here.
What's the education center?
That is surrounding the Greater Village, and we don't know.
Kurt,
We understand that. Sorry.
You're number 4, so I'm gonna let the planners do their trip. Okay? Whatever you'd like to do, go ahead. You're number 4 on the list.
Okay.
We kind of got out of order.
Oh,
Go
so-
ahead and make your
so now I get to
presentation.
talk?
Now you can talk. And any other planners that would like to talk.
No, just, this is supposedly the conception, right?
Yeah.
Who has provided the input to put all this connectivity as is right now? Is it city planning, is it neighborhood, or is it
Yeah, we've got-
VHB, basically, based on what your experience is, this is what you envision as being a sustainable?
Sure. It's been all the above. We've had 4 community workshops advertised, and they were at the Callahan Center or the Jackson Center down here. So we presented 3 different alternatives that were posted up here before, and working with the community, they told us what their preferences were for some of the land use distributions. Like, for example, if I could show you this one. This one generally shows the land uses as they are today. So the yellow is residential, the orange kind of peachy color is industrial, and this alternative represented basically no change to the land use pattern. And then as we looked at the other alternatives, we showed some subtle changes. Like this one connected the yellow together, so the neighborhood could be connected together around where we understand the school to be, rather than having light industrial going through the middle and disconnecting the neighborhoods. And then this kind of blue expanded the area around the Creative Village. If you guys have been paying attention to the paper, you've probably seen that the University of Central Florida wants to move a couple of colleges downtown. We don't know where they're going to go. I don't think they know where they're going to go yet. They've got $2 million to spend to find out. I wish we had that kind of budget and we could work with them, but we don't. So all we can do is provide what we think is a logical landing place for them to be. So we've drawn the area around the Creative Village and some areas that we understand have that are vacant. Here's our vacancy map. All these pink parcels are vacant. We kind of see the Creative Village and any kind of new university presence. It could be Valencia, it could be Wholesale, kind of clustering around that, because that was the point of the Creative Village. So I guess that was a long way to get back to your question of who made the map, and really we all did. I don't know that I would have drawn it this way, but we've worked with members of the community, and they said, okay, we like certain aspects of all 3 of these plans, so combine all 3 into a hybrid plan, and that's where we are.
Kurt, how much did you outlay to the wake of the various sports venues that exist, the new soccer stadium that's coming in, and the entertainment overlays with existing Church Street, such as it is, and what Magic's going to do across the street supposedly, and so forth? So how much does that impact what you guys have really been thinking about for this little overlay?
So we've met with Orlando City Soccer. They haven't been prepared to share with us any specific details about their stadium. I think I saw in the paper that they're going to have some renderings later this week or maybe next month.
Populous can do that one?
Yes, Populous.
Do you know where it's going?
Yes, the stadium is going to be at the corner of, this is Church Street, this is Paramore, this is Terry Avenue, and this is Central Boulevard. So it's this square, and we kind of crudely just drew an oval in there.
Is that where City View is now?
No, City View. No,
City View is next to it.
Oh, all right.
Let me just hang up on that.
Yeah, just hang it up.
No, Central Church on Paramore and Terry.
Our economist was trying to conference in, but usually these things don't work, so we'll spare everybody the hissing. And so, in terms of how we've interacted with them, we've tried to understand what their plan is for the stadium, and we've emphasized to them the importance of making sure that Paramore Avenue and Church Street are not dead spots in the street. We'd like to see, ground floor retail, some kind of active uses along there, because this is a really important part of the community. It's kind of this central historic hub and cultural hub, and we don't just want the backside of the stadium against that. If they're going to have the backside of the stadium, put it up here on Central, kind of facing against the coalition. They are, I think they're going to orient it kind of this way, because it has to be north-south because of the sun. So I think it'll open up onto the corner of Terry and Paramore, but we're just as anxious as you guys to see what's happening. No, that's not it. Well, that's just a shape we dropped in to show what it could look like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is the same group that did the Baltimore Orioles Stadium, and it's very urban-friendly and integrated in.
Okay.
So.
Yes, they did Gillette Stadium in New York, and then, New England. And they also did the Sporting Kansas City Stadium, which is similar to what we think will be similar to this.
Kurt, what is the residential density going to be?
Great question. We haven't really assigned densities to each of these because we want it to be both mixed income and have a variety of housing choices. But it is overall, the plan would accommodate over 7,000 units kind of overall, and then roughly 7 million square feet per acre. What's that?
Max density per acre.
We've had up to 30 in the mixed use, up to, I think it's up to 12 in the yellow.
Could you imagine a higher mixed use, future land use instead of in that corridor?
Not here.
No, in the Broad Street corridor down there.
Could I imagine one?
Yeah.
Sure.
Does that make sense in that plan though?
What we've, this is a long corridor. This is about a mile. And the experience that we've had and worked with our economists is that that's a very long way to sustain retail for an entire corridor. So we think you've got an asset here with the Citrus Bowl. You've got a lot of trips coming down Orange Blossom Trail. And then you've got, the police station is going to develop there. And then, you're going to sustain some retail activity, midway down the corridor. And then you've got the other assets at downtown with, this is the new Magic Sports Entertainment District. This is the soccer stadium. This is City View. And then, of course, the Performing Arts Center and the Central Business District is down here. And then right in the middle, you've got the Heritage Park, which is a big stormwater pond, a big vacant parcel here. The fire station, which is going to relocate to Robinson Street. And this is the Christian Service Center, where they're dealing with homelessness issues and poverty prevention. And this is the Department of Health.
Where are they going to park?
I'm sorry, who?
Park cars for the soccer stadium.
They'll probably park at the Geico garage and then on the east side of town.
I thought we were tearing down the Geico garage to build a hotel.
No, this is the Geico garage. This is the hotel.
They just built it. That's like only 4 years old.
Yes, they did just build it. But they think they can get more value with the new uses.
Kurt, I'm sorry. To answer the question about could you envision something higher than 30 units per acre, yes. We do have in our current future land use designation of mixed use corridor medium density, which is generally kind of the basis of what Kurt is talking about. We have what we call density bonuses through PDs and through superior design. You can actually get higher density than the 30 units per acre, but it has to be designed well. I think it's very likely that type of mechanism will be incorporated into the way we implement the plan through either the overlay district or future regular place.
What did you say the floor area ratio would be of this?
0.5. So that equates to, over 20,000 square feet per, 50/50.
And just like in residential, there's an intensity bonus that you can also get through stuff.
But the brown is not just residential. What other things can you do with the brown?
Mixed use. So
What is that retail?
You can do it. You can do office, retail, residential.
We had a mixed-use zoning around the old arena. Okay, there was a big flop, and nobody ever built anything there because you had requirements of it had to be a certain percentage of this and a certain percentage of that. You remember what I'm talking about? Is that going to be the problem we're going to have here? We're going to have mixed use and the government telling us what the mix has to be?
My feeling is no. We won't have a requirement for that. We have the only place where we really have a mandatory ground floor retail is that there's some streets in the downtown area on the other side of I-4 where we require that, but I don't envision doing that.
But when we say one building in mixed use, does that mean we have to have multiple uses in that one building?
No, you could do a single residential building.
So when we say mixed use, we're talking about in geographic areas of mixed use, not within a particular
Right.
building.
Now we may develop incentives for mixed use, but we would not mandate it.
My friend, where's Mike Law?
Right here.
Okay. Mike owns a business right across the street that he and his dad have been there since, I don't know, 1950 something. By the way, most of the people out here have been in business in this neighborhood 25 or 40 years. Okay, and I took Mike to visit with Jim not too long ago, and Mike said to Jim, well, what did you envision for your building? A two-story what?
Hooters.
Okay, so my question is, can he put a two-story Hooters in Brown?
Depends on what you're defining as a Hooters. If you're talking about the Hooters we all know, then probably, you could. But if you're talking about a Hooters that has some other connotations, we know.
No, I'm talking about the entertainment restaurant, bar, and television, okay. So the answer is yes, we can put a two-story Hooters in Brown.
Paul, is there any place in the U.S. that we might know about that's done anything like this with the kind of givens that we already have on Church Street and the surrounding areas? I mean, I'm thinking 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica, I'm thinking Gaslight District in San Diego.
West Palm Beach, Jacksonville, I mean, there's plenty of
but
examples where-
nobody, except for, and we actually worked with Populous on this, in Pittsburgh, right on the river, the old stadium, when they were getting ready to tear it down between the two new baseball and football stadiums, was going to be this monster mixed-use entertainment district. And judging from what I saw on Google Earth the other day, it's kind of come in fits and starts, but there's no real connectivity there. That was the only thing that came to my mind of something that might be close to what we're talking about.
I think the best thing that's happened to Paramore in a long time is that circle up there, that school. And I think the second thing would be, for this community, would be to see, bring UCF and put them in the middle of Church Street, Creative Village. I know nobody wants to put them in Creative Village, that's obvious. But if you want to enterprise this area here, put that school there and watch the construction on this street take off.
Yeah, one of the things, this is Jim Selling, one of the things you got to remember is the school, of course, will opt for low or free land, low price or free land. So that sort of dictates where at least it'll start.
I agree. Yeah.
What will happen though is they'll provide the institutional buildings. They will not provide the residential. So you're probably better off having them use that land closer to Creative Village and pushing the need for that multifamily that supports that institutional use and the commercial off onto your properties. Because I think that's how it's going to work.
Good example of that, St. Pete, what's happened with USF over there.
Yep. The best example was Phoenix.
Yeah, but is UCF going to move?
Tons of residential.
They're not going to have tons. I think there's
I think they're entitled for about 1,500 units.
yeah, 1,500 units.
That's all they're entitled for?
Yeah,
Are they going to move undergrad over, or are they going to move grad over,
we
which
have no idea.
grad isn't going to want to live anywhere near where this campus is? They're going to
We've been
commute
told is they'll move a college or two that makes sense to have downtown. So it could be, they have a
It's
law
probably going to be
school.
grad school stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, first of all, we don't know, but I mean, so I'm guessing just like you. But I think they will move colleges that need urban locations. And the colleges that they have that need urban locations right now are more undergraduate. So it's College of Public Administration, Public Health, those kinds of things. And it'll be colleges that complement what's in the downtown, the access to the two hospitals, so on and so forth. So
UF's already got the city lab going, and they're looking at
They've got
more
city lab, yep.
presence in
Right,
downtown.
and the other thing is that in addition, if UCF comes, Sandy Shooter says Valencia's coming. And right behind them will probably be Full Sail. This is going to be very synergistic, and the impact, the economic impact is going to be enormous for this area.
Well, here's the problem. You've got residential. It's going all of a sudden from commercial to residential. And commercial is a lot more valuable than residential.
I'm not sure
And it's going to
about
take you a long time to get exclusive residential in this area.
Commercial,
For any
the
kind
need
of
for commercial
value you're gonna
is
get
based
back.
on residential, And you don't have, we've looked at the commercial in this area, there's very little commercial here.
When you see a Publix go up, you
Yeah.
can guarantee there's 50,000 rooftops.
Yeah.
in a
They say
3-mile
minimum
radius.
10,000 rooftops, they won't even look at it like that.
So
And we don't have anything to do with that.
one begets the other, basically.
Yeah, exactly. What doesn't bring commercial is that circle.
That's true.
That does not bring commercial. That will bring people in for events, okay? But when the events are over, then they're going to go away. So it's not a bad thing for the city. It's not a bad thing for Paramore, but it's not the economic engine that bringing the university in. That's huge.
Universities.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Anybody have any more questions or comments or suggestions to the planners about your particular property? Maybe?
I mean, without going into particular properties, to me, just looking at this, if this is basically the one that was chosen, that we're going to move ahead with here. Apart from obviously being the central artery, Church Street that we're talking about today, and everybody concerned about, to me, it looks like Paramore Avenue is basically the Orange Avenue of West I-4. So to me, that's a central artery up and down, and it's lined with commercial properties right now, as it is. It's mostly commercial. And here it is, you have it showing that basically half of it on the bottom there is historical, the top is residential. Don't you think that you need to create basically a commercial, let's say,
Yeah, I mean, we see this kind of area as the Main Street. I don't know how far it goes, but you're going to want to have, if we're going to have children from here walking to the school, we're going to want to have a nice sidewalk and a nice environment to go up that way. So I don't know how far residential or commercial is going to stretch. They're going to have their own commercial within Creative Village, and they're going to want the residents of Paramore to come and shop it to help support that. So, yes, there will be commercial activity along the street, but how far? Like we said, I don't think retail sustains longer than a mile, or even a half a mile or a couple blocks.
And the other thing, Kurt, is you got to think building blocks at scale. So what you have at the corner of Paramore and Church, okay, and as you move down into that sort of historically commercial area, is neighborhood type commercial. It's not regional commercial. When you get out to 441, you have regional commercial. So if you took a scale and you started at Orange Avenue and you went east, okay, and you think about what happens and what transitions as you go east till you get over into the residential that's over there. Say again?
Sutherland?
On the other side of Sutherland. That's the same kind of, transition that you're having as you go this way. So we agree with you that it's commercial, but the scale of that commercial is more of a neighborhood scale that corresponds to the needs of those two residential neighborhoods there, with the exception of the corridor you talked about. That's different. Along the corridor, that's going to be more intense.
But to me, it looks right now, I don't understand who, because right now it's all zoned AC1 and higher intensity use. And you've converted it, all to purple, light purple, and going up residential, all along Paramore.
Yeah.
To me, that just doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's
It's a central artery, Paramore, right?
So while that may have a very high zoning and kind of 3-story brick buildings, that's what the community wants to preserve along that corridor, because there's historic.
So there you think more of Thornton Park.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, because like you said, our Summerlin on this side would probably be Westmoreland or something.
Exactly right.
I was just
Exactly right.
and said Summerlin, the Westmoreland is more of a corridor than Paramore is currently.
That's right.
Because it has less twists and turns.
Yeah.
It has
4 lanes.
It has a
Wider, almost the entire way.
Not a great crossing at Robinson, but anyway, Westmoreland comes down and pretty much strictly commercial, almost from 50 all the way down to Jackson Street. And
Commercial as
You mean
in, not retail.
Yeah, it's residential.
It's commercial.
Very little residential.
Yeah, I'd say it's
Well, no, from Jackson Street down, it's
some larger,
yeah.
well, yeah, you got
Jackson,
Pontiac, whatever's going to go there on the corner, and then coming on down, you've got a lot of commercial on either side.
So it's
And
like,
then there's commercial, there's body shops and things of that nature, which I tend to see as more industrial. But that being said, when we had the last community meeting, I saw, and he showed that number 3 tonight, that's on the wall. My particular parcel was in brown, and now it's back to yellow. So, I want to hear about it. Third map out.
Here.
It's that one there, but I don't know if I can see it, just one there. Yeah. But I got property on either side of Jackson Street and on Westmoreland. And right there you got in brown, and over here you got it in
Kurt, we agree with you. We think it probably should be, brown all the way to South Street, all along there. Only like, what, 3 or 4 property owners there.
Yeah.
All of which, would like to see it brown.
Yeah, and this is what Paul was talking about, whether this is an overlay. Because what the overlay does is it says, here's what we think we'd like to have. Remember, this is not tomorrow, this is 2035. And so, but what the overlay would do is it would say, you can keep what you got, but if you want to change it, this is what we want you to do. So it doesn't threaten somebody losing their zoning, but I will tell you, and you'll probably throw me out of the room, but I'm going to tell you, one of the issues you have in making Paramore work is the fact that it's interrupted by these different uses. And what we're trying to do is create 2 really solid neighborhoods, okay? Where the idea of going in there and investing in a home is something that people are going to be comfortable in doing in the long-term future, and having the body shop next to the residential is not going to create value for residential.
So
if the market, but let me finish, but if the market, and that's why the overlay works, if the market says, hey, planners, say by 10 years from now, from now to 2035, says, hey, you're wrong, because not only is the body shop there, but something else has come in, okay, that's even, stronger economically than the body shop, we'll probably change this. But that's from a planning standpoint. We're saying, if you want to create 2 neighborhoods in there, one north, one south, that's how you got to do it.
So are you saying then that you agree with Jim and I that we probably ought to brown it down to South Street?
No.
In order
I'm saying we're not going to change the zone, but I wouldn't agree with that. I think it needs to be, residential to indicate that's what we want it to be in the future. But these are neighborhoods.
So you want from South Street to Jackson Street to remain residential?
Point to it, Kurt.
Yeah. South Street and Jackson is...
And between Westmoreland and Detroit?
Further south. Further north. Further north.
Right there.
Right there.
There you go.
Okay, so we've identified there what's along the corridor and what's related to the corridors being in the brown, which is the mixed use, right?
Yeah,
We're saying as we move south along Westmoreland, right?
We're talking about, you're saying this.
Oh, no, we're okay with that.
That's what we're talking
All
about.
right.
We're talking about
I
this.
thought you were going all along
No.
the Westmoreland corridor.
We want this yellow over to Westmoreland.
Yeah, we're good. We're
Is that
good.
right,
And
Jim?
stop at South Street.
Yeah.
Because South Street's a natural.
But for all the reasons you just said.
Yeah.
For all the reasons you just said.
Could you stand on that side of the
So we're good with that.
Right here.
Yeah, I misunderstood, Phil. I thought you were saying that in
But it's still a Georgia problem.
In terms of just straight lines, I mean, I don't understand why Paramore is the focus when Paramore just ends at 50 and it has no connection to the, what some would argue, slightly better neighborhood just north of 50. College Park. Westmoreland is the route in and out of College Park.
There is no connection to Paramore, but there is in Westmoreland.
Yeah, but we're ignoring, we're saying let's make Westmoreland just even more residential that no one will drive on.
Well, you've got commercial on 50. And again, we're talking about neighborhoods. So do you want commercial in your neighborhood? If that yellow is a neighborhood and Westmoreland's going through it, should we line commercial all along Westmoreland? Is that a benefit to that neighborhood and the residential values in that neighborhood?
I think it's a benefit to the neighborhood north of 50.
More than 50.
Yeah, the College Park neighborhood, because they're gonna come down and they're gonna do some shopping down on Westmoreland.
Well, that's not where,
Yeah.
Well, they may or may
It would be nice if the best of all worlds if people from College Park
Yeah.
could come down and do business down.
I think that's ideally what you really want to do.
We have several customers in College Park that come all the way down to Westmoreland and Church, that we service their vehicles. We have customers from
Westmoreland and
Winter
Church is
Park that
commercial.
come down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
But, I mean, I think
we
that-
got you covered on that. We're just saying that neighborhood, that stretch of Westmoreland, going through that neighborhood, we want to reinforce that as a residential neighborhood. That is the goal of this plan.
Yeah, and the market is really on.
And we want to, if there's more commercial, we're going to push it to 441. You know, a major corridor with regional activity, with wallets driving by it, 50,000 wallets driving by it every day, and even more when they start the I-4 improvements. That's the solution.
And until that gentrifies and changes, all the rest of it.
And Jim, you're talking about south of South Street, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
South of South.
Yes, sir.
While we're going over these questions, I got one question I won't say anymore.
Sorry, she's been waiting for a while.
Yeah.
Who that? Oh, I'm sorry.
You haven't said industrial once. Where's industrial fit into this?
Let's see. Yes, industrial is the orange, this jobs and industrial district. And really, the industrial can continue to exist, because there won't be any land use changes unless a private owner initiates it. But like Jim said, we're trying to create these strong neighborhoods, so that's why, even though there's an industrial pattern here today, a lot of that's getting taken out by the new school once that comes in. And then the idea is that we would hope that this would fill in with single-family residential or multi-family residential. It would be really compatible with the school there instead of industrial. So, we kind of see some of the industrial staying along the rail line here. There's customers that are served today by Ford Central. But, if the industrial, let's say, I'm just going to point here, never wants to change, then they never have to.
Okay, how about the industrial in the blue that's to the right of the brown
Let's see.
there?
This here?
Go point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
can you show us something?
yeah, this, go right across from this. That's not blue, right, or,
Okay, this is the Department of Health building.
and my property next to it.
Okay. Right here?
Yeah, Westmoreland and Central.
Okay. So we've kind of just drawn a box around the whole block
Right.
instead of kind of going parcel by parcel, just to say that this is, we want this to be associated with what's happening in the creative village and then from an educational standpoint, because this plan is about creating a healthy community. So having the Department of Health here is a big resource that we want to, be able to kind of channel resources from. The coalition, the Christian Service Center is there as well. So we want to make some kind of an association between that and the educational resources we're hoping to,
What kind of uses could you put in that blue spot where our property is, other than industrial?
Great.
Great.
Great spot you're just pointing at.
Great question. So we've got it listed as mixed-use development, educational partnership, job center, and residential. So it really covers everything.
Go on now.
Phil,
That being closer to the city center,
Right.
would higher heights be acceptable there?
We haven't talked about height.
10 stories or 15?
I don't think that's, I don't know.
Could Olaw's son over here, Mike, put Hooters on that corner?
Talking-
I like that Hooters idea. I want to know, can he put
I don't know if we have.
his Hooters on our property?
That's gonna have to be a wing house, not a.
Okay, wait now. Danny?
One of the things that I think we've learned sitting here, and especially that question, Paul and Kurt, is that we got to be real careful with vocabulary, because the point about, well, where's the industrial? It's what do you call industrial? Somebody wanted to go into some place and it was related to, and I use a personal example, like the arts, where they wanted to go in and screen print or something like that. some people would call that industrial, but I think that's the type of use that you would allow in that mixed use. So I think we have to spend a little more time and do a better job explaining that mixed use, because some of the things I think you call industrial that aren't heavy industrial, and in fact even some of the things that you call commercial could be sort of, industrial. We need to fine tune that a little bit in terms of what's allowed there.
I think Lynn's concern is, her business has been there how many decades?
65.
65 years, okay. So the first thing is,
What do you do, Lynn?
she has a middle area.
Miller Berry.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Wow, that's a great use.
Okay, and so she's concerned that, something we're gonna do is gonna make her have to move it,
Yeah.
and that's not gonna happen,
But
right?
see, you're not manufacturing bearings.
No.
You're distributing bearings. And that's why I'm saying, we gotta be real careful. The last thing we wanna do is see Miller Bearing move out of Paramore.
No, I
We would be
understand.
nuts to do that.
Well, but my point is, okay, if someone came along and wanted to put the Hooters there,
Yeah,
okay, and she wanted to sell it,
yeah,
it could be put there.
yes, sir.
That's what this accomplished.
Absolutely.
And by the way, land would probably be worth more as a Hooters than it is as Miller
Well, I'm
Bear.
thinking about talking to the guy back here.
Right.
Now, is that 2 Hooters or 3? I think we're up to 3. I'm not
All right, well, appreciate your questions. I hope everybody can come
I got
up.
one
Oh, you
more
have one more? Okay.
Hey, Jerry, why don't you come up here and ask your question, because you're next on the list.
While he's coming up, thank you for all the input. We're going to have our final community workshop on June 11th, which is next Wednesday at 6 p.m. over at the Callahan Center. Hope everybody can make it. And what we'll be talking about, and Phil saw some of this earlier, is some of the policies and programs that we're going to need to use to make the colors on this map actually sing and work in the future. So thanks for your time, and thanks for being gentle.
It's not over yet.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Number of these green dock properties, what we call light industrial.
Yeah, almost all is IGT. Same. Okay, this next up is my buddy Jerry Pop. Okay, now, I know you may find this hard to believe, but Jerry and I are the same age. We've known each other, okay, for 50 years.
Tell me what you do.
Jim Sellon told me the other day he wanted to see me, a picture of me on a bicycle.
Okay.
I have a picture of Jerry and I when we were 16 years old on a motor scooter. You can see it in my office in Mississippi. Okay, and Jerry was the skinny guy. And he had a lot of hair too. But Jerry is the only guy I know that ever took my advice. So years ago he said, "You want to do what should he do?" I said, "Learn everything about something." So what did he do? He learned everything he could about downtown Maitland and bring developers to downtown Maitland. If y'all know downtown Maitland, the only thing you can probably remember is the dead goodies, right? Okay, well, I believe this guy has finally gotten developers to come to downtown Maitland and talk to the city of Maitland and all those people that do all these plans, and has come up with something that's going to work economically. So I asked Jerry, would you please bring some developers to this group and let them make comments to the group about what they think of this plan and what can be done on West Church Street. So Jerry, I'll turn it over to you.
I want to ask my question.
Okay, go ahead, ask your question. You can finally answer.
I think this is wonderful, an opportunity to see a section of our community to revitalize. When I look over this room, it reminds me of a meeting I went to last Thursday night. We had invited about 20 local people to the city of Maitland that are interested, like you folks are, to come and sit at a round table to discuss what they thought should be the next step for the city. And I've been working about 5 years with different developers. Two of the fellows in the back here are involved with the companies that two of the three companies I'm involved with are representatives for the architectural firm and one of the developers. But one of the things I noticed was that meeting, there were like 11 or 12 people. Jared was there from 1118 Architecture. Bill Frenfrock from Frenfrock Industries, the folks that make the park garages. But of the 10 or 12 people, 8 of them were all over 60 years old. And I looked at this room here, I looked at the group, the age group here, and it's because people that care about what's going to happen in their community and where they are at this point in their life. The reason I'm telling you that is this. I think it's a great opportunity to see this area revitalized. I used to come down here with Phil, infrequently by the way, on Saturday morning with his dad. They'd get me up at 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, come down here and play Red Man with him. That wore me out pretty quick. What I'm getting to is this. You've got one very serious problem in this community that you've got to solve. And these folks can help you out with that, and that's drugs. If you all address that issue, all the planning in the world is not going to solve your problem. And I think
Be legal in 2 years.
Pardon?
They're all gonna be legal in 2 years.
I hate to say this, but they ain't right. I'm all wrong.
Great center is the marijuana field.
Well, I guess in that case, we'll be putting grow lights out in the warehouse, right?
Are we zoned for that? Can we-
I've been to a couple meetings down here where it was talking about putting out cameras in the community. And I happen to have a listing over on Orange Blossom Trail. It's a almost a 2-acre site.
It's on the map,
Yeah, I'll try. If you can find, you know where it is on the map?
Yeah, it's that purple dot.
Well, where is it?
It's right here.
Okay.
It's on purple, wherever that is. Residential mixed use.
It ain't gonna happen. Okay. And for about 3 years, the owner of the property, Mr. Trevino's a great guy, has had it up for sale, and we've had 2 contracts fall through. And I've done a new contract that I think is going to happen. Well, I had a contract fall through last week because the buyer said there was too much crime to put the building there. So I'm here to tell you that I really think that you have a great opportunity. I hope to goodness it's not 20, 30 bucks. But I would think in the next 3 to 5 to 10 years, you can see some things that happen. I think creative buildings, I think big organizations, be extremely influential. You guys need to work with them and be the ear of the city, not antagonize the city, hopefully get the city out of some of your business, and you can make some decisions that will help you. The only reason I'm going over that is this. If you do not resolve that issue of the drugs, you're never going to have a residential. Not saying that's going to be the end all. You're never going to have a school. Because all you need to have is 2 or 3 of those young people killed one night. Bad drug bust. And guess what? It'll be over. All hell will break loose. So if you guys can make a phone call downtown or go to the meeting, I had this happen to me in Macon. A man by the name of John Wood assembled the property on the corner of Lake Avenue in 1792, where the village of Lake Lily is right now. And there was a hot spot in the corner. Everybody knew in the community, whatever you wanted to buy, you go buy it. And so they took that out, got rid of it. He couldn't get anywhere with any financing, he couldn't get anywhere with his development. So they bought the guy out and kicked everybody out of the property. So that's what I really wanted to say. I want to introduce 2 people that made it tonight. Will Turner is from Urban Redesign, Redevelopment Committee, and Jared is from 1118. Bill Frenfrock couldn't be here tonight, but he had his cohort was supposed to be here, didn't show, and got lost. But Frenfrock Industries is very interested in participating in this down here. I think that you folks continue doing this, working with Jim's company. Don't let them get loose on you, change your property. Don't let the city get a hold of stuff, do that. Stay on top of it, and you'll have something you'll have to try.
Jerry, can you give your developers a floor for a minute? And we'll
Yeah,
we want to hear their comments.
Oh, Will, ready to talk?
We all know your life story.
You ready to say anything, Will?
No, I've got nothing to offer.
Will's company is Urban Redevelopment Concepts. His boss is on the way back from Nashville tonight. They're going to meet with the city tomorrow to review the streetscapes and the hardscapes of the city of Macon. You know, the old city hall is in Macon. The property next door, we're in the process of putting a bill of 44,000 square foot retail. Across the street, we're going to put a 37,000 square foot bank. Earth Fair's coming. Hopefully a Panera and some other people like that. And then a major property in the center is being discussed right now by a new traditional bank, so we're excited about it.
On your point, Jared, for over a year, I've petitioned the city about cameras in the area, and also they have maps, the city have maps, and when I came to the gym, what would cameras do, because there's another area, bad as Paramore, forget the area now, and they put cameras there, and they enforce it, they cleaned up the whole area, so what you said,
Well, what it does, the thing that's a shame about it is this. They just do it for 30 calls. They go to 30, or they go to, But you know, it's out of sight, out of mind. Y'all want to develop this. Y'all want to see this to be a safe thing. The only way you're going to do that is have that. Hopefully Jim back here will help you guys. I'm sure he will.
also, Jared, you cut me off.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Also, we have had school in Paramore Anderson for over 16 years, K4 through 8th grade, and we're not having a problem as far as that concerned, but the area and the people, the residents in the area, they do know about the drug problem. And what you just said, if people who are business owners, if they will, talk to whoever they need to talk to about if they're going to develop this area, the crime will be, will be an issue. It's always going to be an issue because the resident people will not call the police about where the drugs are because then they got to live with those people. And they want to come out, we have night service. We have service at 6 o'clock at night. And there's a lot of people who will not come back to church because of that problem. And the perception of Paramore is about a lot of crime. Sure. So what you say, people that, and I've told people that, and I went before and talked to the mayor and the commissioner and said, I know that cameras will help. We have a study, and if people that have connection with other people, if they'll enforce that, I'm sure there will be a great improvement.
Lindy got 650 people here at Paramore, stakeholders, that being property owners and tenants, commercial and residential, to sign a petition asking the city for that. And I was very proud to see, when I went to the meeting earlier today, Jim, that you had Lindy's map as part of the presentation. I would like to suggest, by the way, that this list of things up here, we can add cameras to it because it's not on that list. Okay, so the developers don't have any words of wisdom for us, like, for God's sake, the one thing we've seen that never works is this, so don't do it? Hooters. Don't do Hooters.
Michelle, would you like to say anything? Bill, are you taking everybody to Hooters tonight? Is that
Yes, and I'm leaving you all there. Okay.
You know some age group that keeps asking you about who?
No, who?
Oh, look at that gentleman right there.
He's only 29.
He's 45 years old.
Okay, next on the list is my buddy Brooks White. Brooks is a world-renowned architect. Is that right, Brooks?
You say so.
Okay. And planner. As a matter of fact, if you look at that beautiful picture down there, the picture of this building that looks like something that's not, Brooks did that for us a year or two ago. We tried to get, what was that fine organization to come here? Ace Cafe. I don't know if y'all know who Ace Cafe is or not, but we had him here, and darn that real estate broker from the tall building downtown with a blue suit took them to the other side of I-4. But we had a very interested in with Brooks in coming here. Now, if y'all don't know what Ace Cafe is, it's a world-renowned entertainment spot for cars and motorcycle nuts. And there will be across the street from the bus station in the old Harry P. Blue building starting soon, right, Jim? As far as you know.
This is the location for him.
So, I asked Brooks to give us some ideas about what we might think about, how we might get to where we want to go. If we want to go anywhere, so he's going to speak to us for a minute or two.
Well, I've been around a long time, as you can probably tell on my gray beard, but you talk about going back to the days when we had done Paramore studies when I was a young buck, and we were one of the first architects to move downtown back in 1977, so we knew what it was to open up Orange Avenue, take the plywood down, and get the project started downtown. But the first Paramore show we went to was where the old car parts place was, and we got frustrated, and we've been frustrated a lot over the years. I think what Jim is doing and being the catalyst, if you want me to do that, Jim, to get the city to move on and listen to what Paul's saying. I think the time is right for things to happen. I think the streetscape is a good physical measure of that the city is willing to put some money down here. And to your point, Reverend, I think when things start to change and people start to move in and the positive attitude of the property starts to really manifest itself, a lot of the bad stuff will go away. And the cameras are one good step, but it's been proven over and over again where bad neighborhoods have been gentrified and people have moved in and spent money on their businesses, spent money on homes, that the people go away. The bad stuff moves someplace else and they don't want to be there anymore because they really can't survive. So it all goes hand in glove. As I look at this, and Bill says world traveler and so forth, I've worked in Asia and Europe and been lucky enough to do a lot of those kind of things. I worked on City Walk here in Orlando, I worked on Legoland in California, and 400,000 square foot project in Stockholm, Sweden. So, I mean, I've done the big stuff. And one way to look at this is to take the entire area from, say, Interstate and the arena to 441 and the Citrus Bowl, and instead of the 35,000 feet, go down to ground zero and look at it as what we could do as a sports-oriented district, entertainment, retail sprinkled in, certainly a lot of residential, because that's what keeps the neighborhood viable on a 24-hour basis. And you look at places like 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica, you look at Central Park in Kansas City, West Side in St. Louis, where I lived for a while. These are little communities, little neighborhoods that have 4 or 5 restaurants and lots of old-time residential. It's been gentrified one time and again. And these are very active, positive places. But the big thing we have here are the drivers of the Citrus Bowl, the arena, what the Magic hopefully will do across the street, and the soccer field. And as I mentioned in Pittsburgh, there are those things that those kind of venues can drive. The problem is those are only, a number of game nights per year, per season. And it's boom bust, basically, because when they're going, it's out the door, but when they've gone home, then the neighborhood has to resume its life and be functional again. What's interesting to my mind, like I said, about going back to the early days in Paramore and working with Phil and these guys on the stuff that you see over there, when this building came about, we thought it was a really great opportunity. And being car guys, some of us more than others, we thought this would be a great spot to have guys with Ferraris and Porsches and just people that like cars, whether they're old American mid-metal or whatever it might be, to congregate and store the cars and come here on Saturday mornings and have people that fix cars and paint cars and so forth. And it went up the curve and then didn't do much. Good idea, great idea. Again, it's the crime and the perception of Church Street and Paramore and so forth. What I think this plan is really going to do is, instead of the overall big city, kind of city walk, big picture idea, is drill down and allow you guys that own property here, if you're willing to think out of the box, don't think all the problems that reasons you can't get things done, and oh my God, I'm deference to people who have been here for years and years and years. I think that's great, but you're also the strength and the backbone that can help these new ideas come in fruition. Is take the bits and pieces and amalgam them into an overall plan that works. It's not going to work for everybody, not everybody's going to be happy, but then anything that's worth doing, there's always somebody that's ecstatic and somebody that's not. So you have to be the greater good, and take a sacrifice here and there. But if you can drill down, like I say, and celebrate the good things that are in this neighborhood and allow the new things that developers like these guys and other people that are going to come to town. I've worked with Ron Pizzuti, who's still in town, and those kind of guys that really care about the kind of projects they bring and what they do to the city. are people we need to look for and marry them up with Paul and people down at City Hall and even the county and the guys that run the Magic and the guys that run the soccer teams and so forth. Not an easy thing to do, but Jim is a master at getting these people in the same room and making it happen. So that's my 2 bits for an evening, but you know, it's an interesting possibility, and I think right now it's kind of the nexus of a time when things can really start to happen. So hang in there.
Thank you, Brooks. You know, when you listen to planners and they talk about all these documents and forms and plans and future land uses and zoning, you know, to me, the only way you learn more or learn less is listen longer. Because I get totally confused with that stuff. It's gotten to the point where if I want a simple building permit, I have to almost send Brad down to the City Hall to get it because he speaks their language. The point I'm trying to make is, life gets more complicated all the time and there's nothing we can do about that. Probably the only way as a group that we could expedite our future would be to hire a Brooks or someone like Brooks to represent us as a group that knows how to speak to these planners in the city. Okay? And I would like to ask y'all if you would consider, if I could get Brooks to think about how he could come up with some simple plan to represent this group with the city and the planners in the future. And maybe you can do that, Brooks, to come up with a $5 a week plan for all the 50 members or something. Would y'all like to have a proposition like that from Brooks if we could get it from him and deliver it to you? Very good. Okay, we could have talked to George. I don't know, you know. He's a Georgia. No, you're not a Georgia boy. All right, where are you from?
I'm here.
Oh. Okay, well, we won't talk about that. Okay, we'd like to have a suggestion for another meeting if y'all would like to do that. Anybody here want to try another meeting and discuss maybe what the future might bring with one of these developers who wants to spend an hour or two with us?
Yes, sir. What are you doing tomorrow night?
Good enough of this already. Okay. You're going on vacation. All right, how about towards the end of the summer? Sometime in August. Okay, we'll send out, email out to you and tell you when it's going to be. Please turn in your comment sheets. Everybody has one. We were joking about the car magazines. We gave them out so you'd have something to write on. You're certainly welcome to take the car magazines home. We have thousands of them. Okay? And please return your comment sheets. Make sure you filled out the information on the sign-in sheets. If you have not put a green dot on your property before you leave, please do. And thank you so much for coming, and if we can be of any help to you in the future, let us know. And please talk to each other.